Chapter 1 of History of England, in words of one syllable. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit Librivox.org. History of England, in words of one syllable, by Helen W. Pierson. Chapter 1. England in the Old Times. If you will look on the map of the world, you will find far up at the left of the west half of it two isles that lie in the sea. The large isle is known now as England and Scotland. The small one is Ireland. In the old times these isles lay there as they do now, with the wild sea round them. The men who had their homes there knew naught of the rest of the world, and none knew of them. The storms of years beat on the high white cliffs, and the wild beasts had their lairs in the woods, and the birds built in trees or reeds, with no one to frighten them. A large part of the land was in woods and swamps. There were no roads, no streets, not a bridge or a house to be seen. The homes of these wild tribes were mere huts with roofs of straw. They hid them in thick woods and made a ditch round them in a low wall of mud or the trunks of trees. They ate the flesh of their flocks for food, for they did not know how to raise corn or wheat. They knew how to weave the reeds that grew in their swamps, and they could make a coarse kind of cloth and a rude sort of ware out of the clay of the earth. From their rush work they made boats, and put the skins of beasts on them to make them tight and strong. They had swords made from tin and a red ore, but these swords were of a queer shape, and so soft that they could be bent with a hard blow. They had shields and spears. These spears they could jerk back by a long strip of the skin of some beast when they had thrown them at the foe. On the butt end of their spears was a thing that made a noise to scare the steeds of their foes. A group of their huts made a town. Their beds were made of skins of wild beasts, spread on dry grass or leaves. Bowls of wood held their meat, and they drank out of cups of wood or from the rude bowls of earth, such as are shown to this day, or from cows' horns. In the cold months these men wore the skins of wild beasts for warmth. In the warm days they put on a coat of paint for clothes, which must have been cool and light. They were fond of a fine blue that they made from a plant known as woad, which grew in their woods. When clad in a suit of this, none could say that their clothes did not fit them. Their food was beef and deer, hares and wild birds, and all that they could hunt or shoot. They had milk to drink, and knew how to make cheese. They were brave in war, and all cut up in small tribes, each of which had a king. Of course they knew how to fight, as all wild tribes do. They were fond of the horse, and knew how to break him in and train him. In their fights they taught their steeds to stand still in all the din and noise. They had a strange sort of war car in which they drove to the fights. Each of these held one man to drive and 3 to fight. The steeds that drew them had been taught so well that they would dash on the rough stones or through the woods and tread down the foe with their hoofs. There were sharp blades of swords like scythes that stuck out from the wheels of these war cars on all sides. These would cut down all in their way. Then the steeds would stop while at full speed at a word from the one who drove them, and the men would leap down and deal out blows like hail with their swords, spring back to the car, and the steeds would rush off once more. The old Britons had not heard of the true God, but they had a faith of their own. They felt, as all men do, that there must be a God somewhere, and as they found that the oak tree was one of the best trees in the wood, they thought,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?